Today, we are going to speak about SaaS, about SEO, about AI overviews, about all the change that are happening right now on the search, right? Tom did a crazy research with his team. They analyzed more than 300 SaaS websites, a lot of data points, and basically, he's telling us today what you should do this year to be successful, what is working, maybe what is not working. Tom, before jumping into the presentation, maybe can you tell us who you are and introduce yourself, please?
Sure, yeah. I'm Tom Shapiro. I'm the founder and CEO of Stratabeat, which is an organic growth agency for B2B technology companies. So we do SEO, we do content strategy, content marketing, conversion optimization, and web design. So it's all organic. I've written 2 books, one Rethink Your Marketing, another Rethink Lead Generation. They're both available in Amazon. I've worked with many different types of companies, startups, as well as a lot of mid-sized companies, as well as at least 24 Fortune 500 companies. So hopefully I can share a lot of data with you today that you'll find useful.
Great. So Tom, I'll let you share your screen and we start the presentation. So while Tom is sharing, so how it will be organized, this session. So Tom will share with us now some great information. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will answer them in 30-40 minutes once Tom is done with his presentation. All right, Tom, let's get started.
Excellent. And Sam, just want to check. You can see the screen, okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
We can see the screen.
Great. So yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Hopefully, you'll get a lot out of this presentation. We are going to share a mountain of data with you. And we are going to do a deeper dive on AI overviews and the impact on SEO, because we realize there's a heck of a lot of interest in that. So we'll overweight that topic specifically. So let's jump in. So what we did was we looked at over 300 websites and over 15,000 data points in order to understand what's happening in B2B SEO today. So this is not theory. This is not what I think personally. It's looking at the actual data to tell us what's working today and what's not, because we all know search is changing very rapidly. The SERPs are changing and shifting quite a bit. And so it's important that we look at the actual data to see what's actually working. So in terms of selecting which websites to review and analyze, we wanted to make sure that it was going to be as relevant as possible for you. And so one of the things that we did was we made sure that they had sufficient traffic, right? A sufficient sample size of data to work with. So specifically, the website had to have at least a minimum of 10,000 in monthly organic search traffic per month. And so, for instance, if there's a startup that came on the scene in July or August or September of last year, they were not included. So we were looking at last January, so January of 2024, and comparing the growth in organic traffic and the growth in Google top 10 ranking keywords and in referring domains and things like that from last year, January 2024, to this year, January 2025. So I had mentioned that we had a cutoff in terms of the minimum amount of traffic that a website would need. We also found that we needed to cut it off at the top end as well. So any website that had more than 10 million in organic traffic in a month, it was skewing the data too much. And so what we did was we looked at websites that had a minimum of 10,000, but a maximum of 10 million a month. All right, so what specifically are we going to cover in looking at how to win in B2B SEO this year? So as I had mentioned, we'll do a deeper dive on AI overviews, but then also we'll look at audience segmentation, the impact of offering free online tools, original research. We'll look at blogging, custom graphics, internal linking. Then what I'd like to share with you towards the end is what specifically are the top 10% of performers, those who are growing the most in organic traffic growth. What are they specifically doing so that we can look at some different models and bring it to life a little bit more than just the data. So let's start with AI overviews. So for anyone who is not aware of what AI overviews is, just know that if you go into Google and you type in a keyword, a query, it is that little snippet that appears at the top of the Google search results page, which synthesizes answers and information from a bunch of different sources and provides you with a very quick, brief answer to your query. And so obviously this is going to compete with your website and your rankings in Google. Sometimes the AI overviews will cite the sources, and the searcher has the option to click through, and in other times not. So what we have noticed through the past year is that the presence and the visibility of the AI overviews is growing, meaning that an AI overview result is appearing in the SERP more and more often for more and more keywords. Obviously, that presents a big challenge to any SEO, right? But let's dig into the details. How much of a challenge actually is it? You see a lot of people in LinkedIn or on social media or YouTube who are screaming that, oh my goodness, SEO is dead, or top of the funnel SEO is dead. AI overviews is taking over. We can't compete. We have to give up. And I really think that that's just garbage, to be honest with you. If you actually look at the data, you can't look at everything that's happening in Google for every single search in every different industry and mixing B2B and B2C. What we need to do is look very, very specifically at what's relevant to you. This webinar is all about B2B SEO. So I'm assuming that everyone attending is interested in ranking on B2B terms, right? For a B2B audience. And so let's narrow it down. And when we narrow it down, and more specifically, what we looked at was B2B technology companies. So we can even look at that, right? So with B2B technology companies, looking at the 300 websites, AI overviews were triggered only 17.1% of the time. So in other words, looking at the 300 websites, we looked at all of the keywords that were ranking in the Google top 10, because those are the ones that are going to get traffic, right? Those are competing for traffic. If you're ranking in Google page 5 or page 7 or page 10, it's irrelevant, right? Like it doesn't, you're not really competing against anything because you're not going to get any traffic for that. So in order to make the stats much more relevant, we narrowed it down to the keywords that were ranking in the Google top 10. So it's industry specific. It's also placement specific within Google to make it more relevant to you. And in those cases, what we found was it's only 17.1% of the time that those keywords were triggering an AI overview. And so if we look deeper into, okay, whenever an AI overview was triggered, how often were these companies among those visible in the AI overview itself? And it was actually a tiny fraction. It was only 1.4%. But let's flip this around. What this actually means is that we're close to 83% of the keywords that you would care about, AI overviews are not being triggered. You're not competing against an AI overview. And so it's really, really important for you to look at your own set of keywords, your own topic clusters, and really examine how often AI overviews are triggered there, because you'll see SEOs on LinkedIn, you'll see them in YouTube, you'll see them in their blogs screaming that AI overviews is taking over, SEO is dead, and the stats that they might cite for the presence of AI overviews is it's being triggered on 25% of searches or 30%. I've even seen some people screaming that it's being triggered for 40% of searches. Well, again, it goes back to my point. If you're just talking about every search in the world for every possible reason, whether it's B2C, whether it's B2B, that's very misleading. And really, you're talking about so much data that is completely irrelevant to your business. So let's narrow it down. We only want to look at B2B, obviously. And then what I would encourage you to do is really look at your total addressable market in Google. So your search TAM is what we call it, right? And that's what you need to focus on. That's the only thing that matters here, because if your search TAM, you know, let's say that 82% of the time, 83% of the time, you're not competing against an AI overview, then that gives you a fantastic business opportunity to still win in Google. Okay, so let's look at the top 10% of performers in our group of 300 websites. So these are the ones who grew the most. They were doubling and tripling and quadrupling their organic traffic over the past year. And what's interesting here is that they actually had more competition from AI overviews than the rest of the database. And so the companies that were performing best in SEO this past year are the ones that were triggering the most AI overviews, which is very counterintuitive, but it goes to show you, don't give up just because there are AI overviews. You can still crush it in Google. You can have fantastic SEO performance, even with AI overviews and even with AI overviews growing. Now, we've been conducting this study periodically for the past year. So we started with January date of last year, and we've been going quarterly ever since. And we do see that AI overviews is growing. And so we do see that as a trend, something to keep our eye on. However, let's zoom out. Search is also growing. So the number of searches is growing. So SparkToro put out numbers the other day saying that the number of Google searches grew by 21.6% in 2024. That's very, very healthy growth for such a mature channel. So what I would say is, yes, AI overviews is growing, but so is the entire search channel itself. And don't forget, okay, there are 13.7 billion searches a day. But again, narrow it down to your search TAM, and it's probably very, very large, right? And so the business opportunity for you is still very significant, even if AI overviews is growing. So I had mentioned that for the top 10% of performers in our study, so those were the websites that were growing the most organically over the past year, they faced 12.3% greater competition from AI overviews than the rest of the companies. Yet, we're talking about the elite performers, the ones who were doubling and tripling and quadrupling their organic traffic. And so even with more intense traffic, even if you're triggering more and more AI overviews, it's not something to shy away from. You can still double and triple your organic traffic even with AI overviews growing. Let's look at some specific examples. And these are from top 10 websites from our study. So one of the websites grew in organic traffic this past year, so year over year, by 346.9%. Very substantial growth, right? For them, for that particular company, for their particular keywords that are ranking on Google page 1, 25.7% of the time, an AI overview is being triggered. Let that sink in. 25.7% of the time, an AI overview is being triggered on their Google top 10 keywords, yet they were still able to grow by 346.9% this past year. And so, I really want to encourage you that if you follow the advice that we're going to provide in this webinar, if you follow what is effective today in SEO, you can overcome the impact of greater visibility of AI overviews. I listed a few more examples here. One company was growing by 223.1% in organic traffic over the past year. In their case, it was even more intense. They were triggering AI overviews on 31.3% of their page 1 keywords. In another case, they grew by 178%. And in that case, they were triggering AI overviews 25.7%. On and on and on. I can give you plenty of examples, but you get the point. Don't let the growth of AI overviews confuse you or misguide you into thinking that you cannot win and win substantially in SEO today. What is the best way to win in SEO today when you're dealing with a lot of AI overviews? Without a doubt, it's reverse engineering, right? So let's say that you have a keyword that is triggering an AI overview and you're ranking in the Google top 10. What you want to do is study exactly what Google is presenting in the AI overview and why. Why is it that type of result? And do you have content that aligns with what Google's looking for? If you don't, it's a fantastic opportunity for you to adjust or to augment, to add new types of content that are going to align with exactly what Google's looking to display for that particular keyword or that specific topic. And so just know that, there are a lot of people explaining how to get into AI overviews today. But if you really read through what they're saying, a lot of it is just basic SEO. It's a lot of the advice, it wouldn't change if you were just trying to rank in Google, period. Like have your structured data, have FAQs, have takeaways, have clear language. I mean, come on. Let's not fool ourselves. That's just gaslighting people. That has been the case with SEO for over a decade, right? None of that is new, and none of that is specific to ranking in AI overviews. The most effective way to rank in AI overviews is to reverse engineer the specific results on the specific keywords that you want to target.
Tom, quickly, just one comment from my side, and I would like to hear a bit what you think about that. I read an interesting post today on LinkedIn linked to what you just said previously. So a guy was working for a company, and was helping them to get more and more visibility in Google, obviously, and they got more and more visibility in AI overviews. And he noticed that being more visible in AI overviews also lead to more brand search. So and the idea basically, or the assumption behind that is that your brand is visible in AI overviews, and then people then search for your brand. You know what I mean? Did you also notice this kind of correlation?
Yes, absolutely. There's definitely correlation between brand searches and an increase in brand search and how you can do it not only in AI overviews, but in any of the LLMs. So any AI search platform. Brand search does seem to be a correlation. And so our recommendation to you would be, make sure that you're leaning into PR. Make sure that you are looking beyond your own website. And again, this goes back to basic SEO. You would do this for basic SEO anyway, which is to get listed in other websites, have as many reviews on third-party review sites, have byline articles, be included in roundups. Any way that you can be cited in high-quality websites, third-party websites, is a fantastic way for the LLMs to recognize that you're a real player and you're an authoritative source of information. All right, so let's move on to audience segmentation. So this is an interesting one, right? Because, I've been in SEO since 2005, so a very, very long time. And I've gone to a lot of conferences. I have spoken with a lot of SEOs, obviously, through the years. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos, read a lot of blog posts, on and on and on. I've just been saturated in SEO information over the past 20 years. And I rarely ever see anything about audience segmentation and the correlation with SEO. So we thought it'd be really interesting to dive into this topic and see, does it impact SEO? Does it help your SEO at all? The quick answer is yes. Yes, it does. And you should definitely segment your website according to your different audiences. So what our study specifically looked at was audience segmentation per industry. So that could be if you target healthcare, or you target financial services, or you target technology or hospitality or government, whatever it might happen to be, those types of industry segments. And what we found was those companies that were segmenting their website according to industry, on average, increased their organic traffic by 17.3% over the past year. And those without segmentation, they still did increase organic traffic on average, but it was far less. So it was if you did segment your website by audience segment, you on average would see a 50.4% higher organic traffic growth rate. So pretty substantial. So that's one way of looking at the impact of audience segmentation, is how much faster are you going to grow your organic traffic? But the benefits don't just stop at organic traffic growth. We also looked at how does it impact referring domains. So those are the websites that are pointing links at you. So in other words, a website might point one link at you and that's one backlink, or it might point 10 links at you and that's 10 backlinks, but it's one referring domain. So we wanted to understand for all of those websites pointing links at you, if you segmented your website by audience, did that have an impact? And it certainly did. On average, those companies that segmented their website achieved 46.5% growth rate in referring domains. And almost all of them increased their referring domains. So 96.7% of the websites that segmented their audience by industry achieved growth in referring domains. Also, another benefit is it's an easier path to Google rankings and organic traffic. Look, if you're going to compete on generic terms, it can be very, very competitive. If you narrow your focus and you compete on industry-specific terms, there's less competition, it's longer tail, it's going to be faster for you to rank, it's going to be easier for you to rank. This is a strategy that we have been deploying with our clients for years and years now, and it's very, very successful. We even do it for ourselves. Heck, even this webinar, right? Like the whole idea of looking at a specific segment of data. In this case, we're looking at B2B SEO data, right? The more that you can lean into audience segmentation, it's going to help all of your marketing, not just SEO, but anything that you do. Okay, what else might help you with your SEO this year, to win in SEO this year? One of the things we wanted to look at was online tools. So this could be anything from, say, an ROI calculator or a total cost of ownership calculator, could be an interactive wizard, could be anything where you're asking the audience to interact with the tool itself online, right? And our criteria was it had to be free. It could be gated. You might be gating it to capture their email, but it didn't have to be. It could be free, no gating of emails. As long as it was a free tool for marketing purposes, then we would include it. And what we found was that there was a substantial impact on your SEO results when you offer free online tools. Let's start with the number of keywords that are ranking in the Google top 10. If you were offering a free online tool, we found that those websites on average grew their top 10 rankings by 24.7% this past year. And that's in comparison with websites that did not offer any free online tools, and they only grew by 2%. So they were pretty flat. But, we want to look beyond rankings in the Google top 10 and also look at Google organic traffic. And similarly, online tools had a positive impact there as well. So the websites that were offering free online tools, on average, they grew by 20.7% over the past year, while those not offering tools still grew their organic traffic, just not as much. So what we found was that the websites that are offering free online tools grew their organic traffic 80% higher than, their growth rate was 80% higher than those websites that were not offering online tools. And, beyond rankings, beyond traffic, let's also look at referring domains, just like we did with audience segmentation. So what we found was those websites that were offering free online tools, they grew their referring domains by 88%. So very, very substantial over the past year. And again, almost all of them increased their referring domains. So 93.9% of the websites that were offering free online tools had an increase in referring domains. And again, the average of that was 88%, which is 3.5 times higher of a growth rate than those websites that were not offering free online tools. So very, very substantial difference. So can show you different examples of free online tools, but I thought, why don't we take the opportunity to ask Sam, because he's here in person live and can give us just, raw feedback and insights in terms of, what's the impact that you've seen from offering free online tools on the thruuu website, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what you just said is I validate all the things you just said. These 8 tools generate more than 50% of my traffic on the website. Also, I got a lot of backlinks. And something you cannot find in your data, Tom, is that they also drive customers. I mean, they drive signups, they drive conversion. I mean, obviously, if you're a SaaS in the B2B space, I will recommend to create free tools. Your free tool should be obviously linked to your core offering, because basically the strategy here is to offer a little, let's say, snippet of your tool, and you build a great landing page and you try to invite the let's say the user of the free tool to try your free trial, and then you're moving down the funnel. So yeah, Tom, 200% I validate that. Clearly, free tools is one of the best things to do.
That's awesome. That's great. And you had mentioned it's great for lead gen as well. And yes, we've heard that from many different companies. For example, when I was writing my first book, I talked with the CMO of Tableau software, and she confirmed that the #1 leads driver for them at that time was a free tool. And so, yeah, you never know how it's going to help you explode in either rankings, organic traffic, or backlinks, but also it's just fantastic for lead gen and customer acquisition. So yeah, just a wide variety of benefits, as we mentioned. And again, you can gate these tools. You can capture their emails as you offer tools. You can test whether gating helps you more or ungated tools helps you more. But both approaches are very, very effective. Okay, now we're going to get to one of my favorite topics in SEO, and that's original research. And obviously, that's exactly everything that we're talking about here today is based on original research. Stratabeat loves original research. We recommend it to all of our clients. I personally recommend it to every marketer I talk with. I really love original research, and I think that there's a lot of power with original research. Now, it does help you with your Google Page 1 rankings. It helps you with your SEO traffic. It also helps you with referring domain growth. So original research helps you in different ways. And we'll also talk a little bit about the ways that it helps you beyond SEO. So look at this. So this is looking at growth in the number of keywords that you have ranking in the Google top 10. Those websites that offered original research on average grew by 20.9%. Those without original research had actually declined, right? They had fewer keywords ranking in the Google top 10 year over year by 10%, which is pretty significant. And so when you compare and contrast the two, it's strikingly clear how powerful original research can be. And I'm not saying that this is a one-to-one direct correlation of, oh, if you have original research, you're automatically going to grow. And if you don't, you're automatically going to decline in terms of the number of keywords ranking on Google Page 1. I think, if we take a step back, we zoom out, we're going to see that, okay, those who engage in original research are a little bit more sophisticated in the way that they're marketing. I think that's what's going on here. And so those websites that are offering original research are also doing several other things that really help from a holistic perspective. Now, it's not just with your rankings that you can expect to grow, and certainly grow a lot more than those websites that are not offering original research. So if we look at organic traffic growth as well, those offering original research grew by 18.7% over the past year. Those without original research grew by 11%. So a 67% higher organic traffic growth rate for those websites that were offering original research. And then again, we always want to look at referring domains. So what we found was that, almost every website that was offering original research did increase their referring domains over the year. And that average growth rate was 80%, which was 3.4 times higher than those websites without original research. So let that sink in. Even if you only do it for the backlinks alone, it would be more than worth it. And as I had mentioned, there are many, many benefits of doing original research beyond SEO. So, it helps with your thought leadership. It helps you to break through all the noise. There's so much content out there right now. There's a lot of crap content out there, right? Let's just be honest. How are you going to break through all that noise? How are you going to capture their attention? How are you going to, build your thought leadership? How are you going to build your trust with your audience? How are you going to differentiate your brand? All of this comes into play, right? All of this is impacted by original research. Original research helps you in so many different ways. We could have had a webinar just about original research. And I can tell you definitively that original research does increase your leads. We've seen it here at Stratabeat, a great increase in organic leads stemming from original research. But through the years, we've also seen our clients do this. And also, Mantis Research did research years ago where they found across a broad study that original research does increase lead generation quite substantially. Okay, blogging frequency. So I imagine that many of you are blogging for your business. And so, we all know that Google likes blogs. However, there's been a lot of talk recently, right? About, how, blogging doesn't work anymore. Google doesn't care about blogs anymore. I would like to directly address that. And again, this is not my opinion. It's not what I think. I'm not suggesting what you should do based on what I care about or what I think works. This is all based on the data. We're simply looking at the data and letting the data speak to you, letting the data tell you what is working in Google today for B2B SEO, and kind of ignoring all the loud voices and the opinions that are screaming that SEO is dead online. So we wanted to look at blogging frequency specifically. We also looked at blogging length, so the length of a blog post, but the results from looking at the blog length were very, very mixed. There was nothing really definitive enough to share. And so what we're going to focus on today is blogging frequency. With that said, I will tell you that the top 10% of performers, those websites that were beating the rest of the 300 websites combined, they were blogging, their blog posts were around 33% longer. So there is that one takeaway in terms of word count and blog length, is that the top 10% were writing longer blog posts than the others. Okay, so let's circle back to frequency. So what we did find was that the magic number is really 9. If you publish 9 or more blog posts a month, you're going to maximize your SEO impact and your growth. Now, we compared this to blogging 1 to 4 times a month. We compared it to blogging 5 to 8 times a month. But clearly, as you can see here, in terms of driving organic traffic to the website overall, you're going to drive much more traffic and you're going to experience much greater organic traffic growth by blogging at least 9 times a month. Now, this is traffic to the entire website. We wanted to narrow the focus and ask the question, what about blog traffic? Can you increase your blog traffic by having more blog posts? And the answer is even more clear. It is more pronounced. So by blogging 9 times a month, you can, really drive far, far, far greater traffic. And again, this is specifically traffic to the blog. And so if you're blogging only 1 to 4 times a month, we actually saw a decline. We saw a decline in organic traffic year over year for those websites that were only blogging 1 to 4 times a month. So if you're only blogging 1 to 4 times a month, this is a wake-up call to you. That is probably not what you want to do to win in B2B SEO in 2025. I don't think it's going to work. And so what you need to do is increase your frequency. If you can get it up to 5 to 8 times a month, then certainly you're going to see much better results. But clearly blogging 9 or more times a month is the sweet spot. That's where you're going to more than double your performance. And then also, blogging really, really helps with your referring domain growth, your backlink growth. among the websites that were publishing 9 or more blog posts monthly, almost all of them, so 97.8%, achieved an increase in the number of websites that were pointing links at them. And here's the thing. Okay, so 89.9% referring domain growth. I mean, that's very, very high. It's 8.6 times higher than those blogs that were publishing only 1 to 4 times a month. Let that sink in. They were able to generate links from websites 8.6 times more than the websites that were publishing only 1 to 4 times a month. So, you know, whether we're looking at it from a traffic perspective, whether we're looking at it from a backlinking perspective, you know, this is a slam dunk. Blog more. And what I love about this is, you know, we can look at the top performers and say, okay, what were the top 10% doing, and learn from them beyond the overall study of the 300 websites. So the top 10%, how were they doubling and tripling and quadrupling their organic results? They were blogging 11 times a month. So, you know, again, it's all the data that's speaking to you, right? It's not my opinion. This is what we're seeing working today, right now. And so those who are out there saying that blogging doesn't work anymore, you know, we would strongly disagree. If you're talking about a B2B company, specifically a B2B technology company, we would say absolutely blogging still works very effectively. And the good news is that, let's say that you're blogging only 5 times a month right now, or 4 times a month right now, and you want to increase your frequency, increase the cadence. That should be low-hanging fruit. Now, why do I say that? Well, it's because you already have writers, you already have the infrastructure in place, you already have, hopefully, a content development process in place. So you have everything in place. You just need to kind of, you know, pour fuel on the fire, so to speak, right? You just need to do more of what you're doing. And so from that perspective, you should be able to action this quite quickly. Okay, so a couple more things that we just want to look at. And again, this is something where I haven't seen anyone else looking at this SEO ranking factor and this traffic factor, which is Google wants to see original content, right? There's so much AI generated content out there now. And, you know, a lot of it is just mediocre, right? Google does not want mediocre content. It doesn't want to display that, doesn't want to include that in the Google top 10, because that is not going to provide the greatest experience to the searcher. So we looked at custom graphics from the perspective of, okay, well, if Google is really looking for those websites that are delivering unique value, how is it evaluating unique value? One of the factors we were curious about was, would it consider custom graphics better than stock photography or no graphics at all? And what we found was, yes, indeed. This is a surprising factor, but something that we were suspecting for a long time. If we compare the results with last year, you know, there was a lift in performance if you use custom graphics, but it was a small lift, right? And I had said at the time, 1 year ago, that we were suspecting that this was going to grow in importance because of the growth of AI tools for generating content and all the crap content that was being generated, right? And we said, you know, Google's really going to look for originality, original unique value, and perhaps custom graphics would be a signal in terms of like how much effort you were putting in. And so what we found was that using custom graphics in your blog did produce organic blog traffic growth rate of 44.7%. And then there was a decline of 2.6% if you were using stock photography or if you were not using imagery at all. Also, with the other things that we've been referencing as well, whether it's audience segmentation or tools or original research, there was also a lift in referring domains as well. Let's look at internal linking. So as I mentioned, I've been in SEO since 2005. And I will tell you that hands down, internal linking, for whatever reason, is the most overlooked element in SEO, at least from my perspective. You know, we forever see countless websites that are either doing very, very minimal internal linking or no internal linking in their blog. Now, what we find is that internal linking is fantastic. It's a fantastic, and it's low-hanging fruit. It doesn't cost any money. You could do it today. It's very actionable, right? And it's very fast. So the fact that it's so fast and so easy, it's so actionable, and doesn't cost any money means that this is a fantastic low-hanging fruit opportunity for you. So in terms of the numbers, this is kind of astounding, right? So in terms of organic traffic growth, what we found was that there was a 37.1% lift in organic traffic for those sites with internal linking in the blog. And then for those sites that did not include internal linking in the blog, there was actually a massive decline. So there was a decline of 25.5% of organic traffic. So if you think about it, what is Google trying to tell us? It's telling us that Google really cares about domain authority, topical authority. It's really looking for, the interrelatedness of what you're writing, and making sure that, if you're going to write about a topic, it's not just one blog post and then, it's not related to anything else that you're writing about, or it's not directly related. Google wants to see that you're writing a lot about similar topics where there are relevant, contextually relevant internal linking opportunities. Okay, top performers. So I love sharing this with you, because now we can, go under the hood. We say, okay, so for not the 300 websites, but just the top 30, the ones who are absolutely crushing it and doubling and tripling and quadrupling their organic traffic, what are they doing? That's what we want to know, right? So we did find that the top 10% of performers were achieving far greater performance in both the number of Google top 10 rankings that they were achieving, as well as the growth in organic traffic. What was shocking to us was that actually they were not beating the broader database in terms of referring domain growth. And so what does that tell us? Well, it's not definitive. We would certainly want to continue the studies and see if this continues, but we are wondering if Google is not weighting external backlinks as much as it used to. Again, this is just a theory. It's a hypothesis. A lot more testing needs to go into this, but the data indicates that something's going on there, right? Okay, so what are top performers focusing on? Well, audience segmentation, as we had mentioned, it's a benefit that we saw across the entire database of 300 websites. Well, for the top 10%, they leaned into audience segmentation more than the other websites. They were more likely to have a diversified content hub. So not just blog posts, but maybe white papers, maybe research reports, maybe infographics, a whole range of different types of content in a content hub. So the top 10% of performers tended to have a content hub, and certainly much more often than the rest of the websites. They also conducted original research more often than the rest of the websites. So again, I told you how much we love original research, how much success we see in SEO and beyond with original research. And the top 10% of performers in our study also leaned into original research much more than the rest of the database. As mentioned, they're publishing 11 blog posts per month. So remember, I told you that the magic number to really boost your performance with blogging is 9 times a month. So the top 10% of performers who are doubling and tripling and quadrupling their organic traffic growth, well, they're blogging even more. They're blogging 11 times on average a month. Some of them, 13, some of them 15 times a month. They also write longer blog posts. They write, on average, 33.4% longer blog posts. So word count does matter here. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on the keyword. It's going to depend on the topic and your competition for that keyword. But looking at the top 10% of performers, the length of your blog post does matter, and the longer blog posts do perform better. They also were taking more attention to Google Eats. So for instance, they would include things such as author bios and include the credentials of those bios or of those authors in order to signal to Google that, yes, the person who wrote this is an authoritative resource. They know what they're talking about. They have a lot of experience in the industry. Maybe they have other credentials like awards that they've won, things like that. So they were leaning into that much more than the rest of the websites. They also used custom graphics. Remember, I mentioned that custom graphics make a big difference. So they were using custom graphics much more than the rest of the websites. And they were deploying internal linking much more in their blog than the rest of the websites. Now, on average, what we saw was the top 10% of websites in our study, they increased the number of keywords ranking in the Google top 10 by 84.7%. This was a 9 times difference than the rest of the websites. 9 times. Just tremendous, right? And again, I want to go back to something that I said at the very, very beginning of the conversation, which was, these top 10% of performers, they also were triggering AI overviews 12.3% more often than the rest of the websites. So even with increased competition with AI overviews, they were absolutely crushing it in Google. And not only in terms of how many keywords that they were getting into the Google top 10, but also in terms of organic traffic. So the top 10% of performers, on average, grew their organic traffic over this past year by 112.3%. Amazing, right? And this was 6.9 times higher than the rest of the websites. And again, these are the websites that were competing against AI overviews more often than the others. And so finally, just want to share a couple of specific examples with you, and then we can get into any questions that you might have. But what are they actually doing? What are examples of those companies that are top 10% performers? What specifically are they doing? So let's take a look at 3. And each of these is not only a 10% performer, they're in the top 10 of the entire database of 300 websites. So let's look at a healthcare SaaS. They increased their organic traffic by over 1,400% this past year. This is partly through an owned media hub where they have lots and lots of different types of content. They have blogs, they have research reports, they have guides, they have infographics, they offer tools, lots of different types of content, right? They lean into audience segmentation both in the website as well as in their content. So in the website, they have 2 different audience segments, and then they have 4 different sub segments. And then if you go into their content hub or the resources, what they have is lots and lots of content that's directed at very specific audiences. So they're really doing what we're advising, which is leaning into audience segmentation very heavily. They have 3 online tools that they're offering. And then they have they've published 6 new original research reports just in the past year alone. And then one thing which we didn't talk about today, but was very interesting in their case, was they also went out and they bought some SEO traffic as well. They went out and they acquired and they merged with certain brands. And obviously, that brings additional SEO traffic as well. Okay, another example is a cloud security SaaS that increased their organic traffic by over 223% this past year. So again, they were focused on audience segmentation. They offered free online tools. They also published original research. They were blogging 13 times a month. They were implementing internal linking as well as custom graphics in the blog. And another example is a marketing SaaS where they increased organic traffic by 105.4% over last year. And they offered online tools. They do a ton of original research. They blog 15 times a month, and their blogs are very, very long. They also do internal linking very well. And they also really only use custom graphics. They use a lot of screenshots specifically in their blog, but it's all custom. It's all very, very specific to what they're capturing and what they're offering. And so shared a mountain of data with you. I really hope that it was useful. And Sam, we can answer their questions.
Yes. Let's move on to the question. Tom, it was really impressive. All the data you shared. And people have a lot of questions now, so we should answer them. I will start with the first one. To be clear, I mean, it was only B2B SaaS, or it was B2B companies overall in your study?
So it's B2B SaaS and technology.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. So AI is everywhere right now, and if you will be, let's say, if you will be leading a SEO team, a SEO content writing team, how you could prevent to become obsolete? So basically, what is your best practice here?
So if we're talking about AI overviews, or if we're talking about an AI engine like ChatGPT, like I said earlier, the best strategy here is to reverse engineer your specific keywords. So what's happening for your specific keywords? Ignore all of the conversations and the posts online that, AI is taking over and SEO is dead, and you don't have to worry about SEO anymore because you can't compete against the AI engines. That's actually not true. If you look at the search market overall, I know that SparkToro came out with numbers the other day showing that actually the search market is 373 times larger than these AI search platforms. And even if I think that if you compare Google search to ChatGPT, ChatGPT, the percentage of searches that ChatGPT captures is less than 2% of the overall market. And so, what we want to compare here, or what we want to be careful about here, is making sure that, we're focusing on what's going to move the needle the most this year in 2025. And, clearly Google is where the action is at. And as we had reviewed earlier in the webinar, the companies that were growing the most in our study, the ones that were doubling and tripling and quadrupling organic traffic this year, are triggering AI overviews the most. And so it's not a case of, if AI overviews is growing, then you should give up on SEO. And also, again, you need to look at your very specific search TAM to see how much of an impact AI overviews is having. For example, with ourselves, Stratabeat, it's only 5.7%. In other words, our keywords that are ranking in the Google top 10, they trigger an AI overview only 5.7% of the time. If we were to focus on AI as the priority, as opposed to, the 95, 96% of our market opportunity, we'd be crazy.
All right. Just to summarize, if I'm leading an SEO team, should I adapt? I mean, in fact, I should just continue to do what I was doing right, because, I mean, as you mentioned, the good practice still apply, even though we are in the AI age, right?
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that was very interesting in our study of 300 B2B websites, right? What we found was that the top performers were not just leaning on one strategy. They were taking a holistic approach. They were taking a multi-pronged approach. They were leaning into audience segmentation more than the other websites. They were leaning into original research more than the other websites. They were leaning into blogging more frequently, right? On average, the top performers were blogging 11 times per month. They were leaning into internal linking more. They were leaning into providing custom graphics as opposed to stock photography more than the other websites. So it wasn't just one thing. There's no silver bullet here, but the top performers in search are really doing many different things in order to combat all of the changes that we're seeing in search today.
Also, so we all say SEO is dead, but maybe we should say backlink are dead, because you just mentioned that that is not that important anymore. So can you also develop a bit here?
Yeah, sure. So I wouldn't say that backlinks are dead, but in our study of 300 B2B websites, what was really interesting was, in terms of the increase in keywords ranking in the Google top 10, demonstrably, the top 10% of performers were growing 9 times faster than the rest of the database of companies. In terms of organic traffic growth, they were growing 6.9 times faster. So, in terms of performance, that they were performing much greater on all these different SEO strategies and tactics that they're employing. Now, in terms of looking at the referring domains specifically, it is interesting that the top 10% of B2B websites that we looked at that were completely trouncing everyone else, they were doubling, tripling, quadrupling their organic traffic this past year. They actually had slower or lower growth in their referring domains than the rest of the database, which is really shocking but eye-opening.
Quickly, just a short clarification as well. Kate asked, you mentioned at some point that longer blog posts perform better. What do you mean longer? Longer than the average on the SERP, or what means longer blog post?
So in the collection of blogs that we were looking at among these 300 websites, we were only looking at those 300 websites. And then we looked at the average length of a blog post for each of those websites. The top 10% of SEO performers, the ones who were doubling, tripling, quadrupling their organic traffic this past year, they were writing blog posts with a word count that was over 33% longer on average than the rest of the websites.
All right. Also, another question. So if I'm a B2B service provider, can I apply the same strategy? I mean, maybe you can explain what you do for Stratabeat, but...
Yes, absolutely. You can absolutely apply the same strategies. We apply the same strategies here at Stratabeat. As I had mentioned, original research is something that we focus on quite heavily. This entire webinar is all based on original research, and we can say definitively that it helps you in increasing your rankings. It helps you increase your organic traffic. It helps you with topical authority. It helps you cut through the noise and attract attention. And it helps you with backlinks especially, but it goes way beyond that. It's a fantastic thing if you look at it from a PR perspective for cutting through the noise, for cutting through all of the content that's out there and really grabbing the attention of people who matter, whether that's your ICP, whether it's the media that they consume, whether it's the blogs that they read. It really is a fantastic PR vehicle as well.
Carlos has a quite tactical question. So internal linking, what would be your best practice to perform or to set up internal linking properly on a blog? Yeah,
so we really prefer to be very careful with internal linking and not to overdo it. We think that, if you overdo it, it can really backfire. And, it's what's called over-optimization. So instead, make sure that your links are contextually relevant, highly contextually relevant, right? Don't just include internal links for the sake of internal links. Don't include 1,000 internal links on a page. That's just silly. If you have a few internal links on a page and they're providing value to your site visitor, then that's a fantastic measure of whether you should include it or not.
Let's continue a few minutes. I have still a few questions for you, Tom. It's quite interesting. So again, SEO is dead. Well, in fact, it's not really dead, to be honest. We saw it today. But is tofu content dead? Does it still make sense to create top of the funnel content in 2025?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts here. One is, again, you have to look at your specific keywords that are triggering AI overviews to understand, are those top of the funnel keywords that are triggering the AI overviews. In the 300 websites that we looked at, we analyzed, let's just look at the top performer, right? They are battling a number of AI overviews, and I would say that over 90% of the AI overviews that they are triggering are being triggered from top of the funnel searches. Things like what is this or what is that, or definition or meaning of, or even things like statistics, right? And so clearly we're seeing that AI overviews is heavily weighted towards top of the funnel searches. It does not mean that you can't win at the top of the funnel. It just means that you need to reverse engineer what you're seeing. So for your search TAM, for any of those top of the funnel keywords, which ones specifically are triggering an AI overview, which are not? If they're not triggering an AI overview, go all in, right? Double down, win. And if they are triggering an AI overview, reverse engineer what Google is displaying and making visible, and adjust your content accordingly to align with what Google is looking for. Or sure, if you want to ignore where those keywords that are triggering an AI overview, then fine, then just double down where an AI overview is not yet appearing, and then you can keep your top of the funnel marketing very, very healthy.
Let's speak a bit about AI content. AI generated content is quite trendy, right? So you mentioned that writing 9 times per month is let's say the good number, but can I use AI generated content to, let's say, to create this content? Or what is your point of view here?
Okay, the answer is no. You cannot use AI to generate your content. I mean, look, what Google wants original content, it wants unique content, and it wants unique value. We're trying to provide information gain in the SERP, right? We're trying to deliver overwhelming amounts of value to the reader. AI is simply not going to do that. If you are just putting in a keyword and you're having an AI tool generate the content for you, what you're going to get back most likely is going to be mediocre. Mediocrity does not win in Google. What we typically see is if you try that approach, you might get a quick little spike in organic traffic for your AI content. And then at some point, whether it's a week or whether it's a month from the time of publication, Google catches on. Google understands that it really is mediocre content that is not worth a place in the Google top 10, and you fall off a cliff in terms of your rankings. And so if you want to win longer term in SEO, do not rely on AI to write the content for you. You can use AI in your content processes, certainly, absolutely, but don't rely on AI to write the content for you. Instead, again, I would just urge you, focus on providing overwhelming value to your reader. Use a lot of personal experience, expertise. Make it as experience-based and expertise-based as possible. And that goes way, way beyond what AI can do today.
It's really important what you just said. You can use AI in your workflow. This is obvious. I mean, we are not against AI here. It was not the point. Also, on my side for thruuu, I mean, I'm using AI in my content process. thruuu is as well leveraging AI. For instance, using or creating a brief with thruuu, you can leverage AI to get started quickly, to scrape data from the SERP, but then you need to add your own added value. You need to bring your own expertise. You need to find a new perspective and bring something fresh to the SERP, right? So I guess, and I believe only a human can do that. I guess, Tom, you agree with me, right? That right now, to make this difference, only human can bring that, right?
Yes. But here's the thing is, the writer has to be sure to include it. We can't just talk about it, but you really have to follow through with customizing your content based on personal experiences or the experiences of SMEs or your CEO or your product leaders, whoever it might happen to be. But the more that you can personalize the content where no one else could have written it, I really think that is what Google values today and what it's going to value moving forward.
Interesting question from Florian. I guess, Florian, you are French. And what about a mixed approach when basically human provides initial ideas and then AI is refining the content? What do you think about this approach?
I wouldn't rely on AI to write the content. Sam, I would go back to what you were saying. AI is fantastic in the content development process. It's a great process enhancer, a great process accelerator. It basically gives you superpowers in the content development process, I think. But for writing the actual content, I think that you'll see that the content that's written by human beings will outperform the content that's written by AI any day of the week. And we've seen this in various studies. We've experimented and we've seen this.
Great. The last question, Tom. So then we can maybe wrap up this session. So many B2B SaaS are getting crazy results in SEO, as you just showed that to us right now. So what is the biggest lesson from you? What are the takeaways? So if you have to give us 5 points, Tom, that B2B SaaS should follow? What are they?
Yeah, so I would say that a B2B SaaS, if they want to be successful in SEO this year in 2025, first thing, you have to take a multi-pronged holistic approach, right? It's not just one silver bullet that's going to provide you with SEO success. It is the compounding impact of you focusing on factors that make a big difference, such as offering free online tools, such as providing original research, such as blogging a minimum of 9 times a month and writing long blog posts, right? Long form blog posts. It's providing overwhelming value to the reader and unique value. So for example, custom graphics provide a big boost in SEO performance over those websites that are reliant on stock photography, or in their blog, they don't provide any imagery at all. And so for any B2B SaaS, what you need to do is look at all of these different tactics. Now, one more thing that I would say that is going to solve 99% of your marketing problems is you need to really focus on your ICP. The more that you understand your ICP, meaning you are interviewing your customers, right? And ICP means ideal customer profile. So are you actually talking with your customers? How often, right? Is it once a year or is it every week? So it's really important to be talking to your customers. It's really important to talk with your salespeople. It's really important to listen to your sales call recordings. It's really important to look at your CRM database and do a win-loss analysis every single month. Why? Because all of these tactics will provide you with deeper ICP understanding. Once you understand your ICP at a much deeper level than your competitors, it changes everything. Your website is going to be more customized for your ICP. Your messaging is going to resonate more deeply. Your CTAs are going to resonate, and your offers are going to resonate more. Your blog posts are going to resonate more. All of your content in your content hub is going to resonate more. So, ICP research and ICP understanding go as deep as possible, because with B2B SaaS, that will change everything with your SEO results across the board.
Yes, I think this is really important, thinking about your ICP. And if you go back now 2 years ago, when it was really quite trendy, when ChatGPT came out, people starting to create content with AI, what happened? People started just to create a lot of crap content, right? Content that didn't resonate with their ICP. And this is why they didn't get the result. I mean, obviously, there's a kind of trend going up that you get a lot of traffic suddenly, but then it just go flat, And this is basically what you just said, Tom. I mean, for me, the message should be more quality than quantity. Obviously, create, as Tom mentioned, like maybe 10 plus blog per month, but don't go to 100 blog per month that then go beyond your niche and your main topic, right? So let's focus on quality. Let's add a unique angle in your content. Think about your ICP. Think about adding value.
Yeah.
Last question, because Carson asked a question, so we have to answer because it's about customer experience. So we need to answer question. Maybe it's an idea. I mean, did you integrate in your study on-page engagement as well, like product reviews or demos?
We did not include that this time. It's something that perhaps we can include in future studies, but we did not include those particular elements.
Right. So Carson, you have to wait for the next study and the next webinar in 1 year, and Tom will come back with additional data points. Great. So it was Google waits for no man. Okay, great, Carson. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Tom, thanks a lot. I always appreciate spending moments with you, and I hope you enjoy it as well. It was good.
Absolutely. No, Sam, thank you for having me on the webinar, and thank you to everyone who attended. Really appreciate all of your questions, and really appreciate having this conversation with you today.
Perfect. So come back to us. You can follow Tom on LinkedIn. You can contact him if you have any question. Also, you can contact me if you have any question about thruuu. And yes, let's move on. I wish you all a nice day or a nice evening based on where you are. And see you soon for more great webinar and videos. Bye-bye.
Bye.